Down to business.
When he drinks, he thinks.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the #1 liquid-fueled, liquid lubricated show right here on the Whiskey Musings Broadcast. I am your forward-thinking, looking in the crystal ball host, Rick. You know what? I got to tell you, I am so excited. And the reason why I'm excited is because of the fact that I had a couple new subscribers. So on Rumble, I am now at 280. The Rumble side of the house worked tonight. So everybody, the party is over there. Not saying that you can't watch on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, but I'm telling you, everybody's over on the Rumble side, and they are, the party started early. It started really early. I mean, I opened up so for those of you that don't know, you have to generate a new key whenever you're getting ready to stream for Rumble. It's not like YouTube, where YouTube has just, the one key, and whenever you start streaming, that's when it opens up. In the Rumble side, you actually have to start it up, with a little teaser video and that kind of stuff. And when you open up or put in for the streaming, it actually opens up the chat at the same time. And so if you have a Rumble account and you go and you sign in, even if the live stream isn't starting, if it shows up as upcoming or something like that, you can jump in the chat early. And so what ended up happening is a couple of my Whiskey Warrior P1s hopped in the chat. It was right around, about 5:30, 5:35 my time. And they hopped into the chat and they started talking. And of course, I was watching, so I went ahead and kind of bantered around. And so it was great. It fills my heart with joy to know that I bring you such content that you actually want to hang out for a little bit of time to wait for me to start broadcasting. And believe me, after the day that I've had, that was the perfect capper for it. And to top that off, I have another perfect capper right here in my hands. This is the inaugural opening of the Crown Royal Black bottle that I received as a gift from one of my Whiskey Warrior P1s. Buddy Weiser sent this. If you missed Wednesday's show, I opened that live on the air. And tonight I am opening it just so you guys can see. Here's the glass, totally empty. It's got a whiskey stone inside. I'm trying to get my angles right here. It's got a whiskey stone inside, and it's set up perfectly. I'm going to go ahead and pop this and take a sniff of this libaceous alcohol. Let me tell you. Oh boy, that even smells good. I got to smell that again. Ooh. I wish you guys had like smell-o-vision or something so you can sniff that. Here, take a sniff. Take a sniff. How does that smell? All right. All right. So I'm going to get myself a little bit of a glass going here because of the fact that this is the capper on a fantastic day. This is absolutely beautiful. Thank you very much, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm going to give it a try here. I got to be able to do some kind of a whiskey review here. So here we go. Let me get that nose going. I probably should have let it breathe a little bit first, but you know what? It's been in the bottle. It needs to breathe anyway. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Just here. You got to sniff this. I'm telling you, you guys got to smell it. So take a big whiff of that. Okay. Sorry, but it's all mine. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's got a fantastic mouthfeel. There is literally no aftertaste to that. This is good. Oh my gosh, I am so honored. Thank you. Thank you so much, buddy. I do appreciate that. That is incredible. Ooh, I'm going to enjoy this bottle. All right. Okay. Now, I see some new people popping in. I see some new people popping into Rumble. And so, hey, if you're on, YouTube, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, I'm telling you, the chat over on Rumble is where everybody's at. It's the place to be. You got to go over there. I know sometimes, like on Wednesday, I had a bit of a problem. It does happen at times. However, I really think you need to head over to Rumble and take a look. If you do not have an account and you're just watching the stream, I don't blame you for that, but do me a favor, go ahead and sign up for an account so that you can go and subscribe. I don't know if anybody else got it, but I actually got a notification that let me know that I was actually streaming. And so anyway, yeah, some people are like trying to go over to like YouTube and check it out. And there's like nobody on YouTube. I'm telling you, I'm probably going to get kicked. I'm telling you, I'm probably going to get kicked this week. And the reason being is, for those of you that don't know, I'm already on 2 strikes. So if I get a 3rd strike before the middle of November, I am likely going to get banned. So, and the reason why is because, of course, I speak and tell things that the overlords over at YouTube don't like. And my last 2 strikes have been dealing with elections. And tonight I have some articles that talk about elections again. So, even though all I'm doing is just simply spewing observations and opinions on actual news articles that are out there, they seem to not like that. So what they're going to do is they're going to go ahead and anyway, so yeah, okay, so I'm seeing some other things going around. This is great. I love it. I love it. I appreciate it. All right, so tonight I am drinking the Crown Royal given to me by my Whiskey Warrior P1 Budweiser. That's great. Next thing, I got to show you what's in my background. My head kind of gets in the way. I got a big head here. So let me move out of the way so you guys can see. This is October. So October is Halloween month. So I got to get going. Hold on. I got a big old scary guy with a knife, carrying a head. He's carrying a head back there. All right. So there we go. All right. So that's out of the way. All right. Tonight's episode is going to be brought to you by the Institute on the Constitution. And the Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission: to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government, as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, IOTC.whiskeymusings, all lowercase, all one word, .com. Yeah, to sign up. Sorry, I lost my place. To sign up, and while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.whiskeymusings.online to get great content to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's IOTC, for those to spell it phonetically. That's India Oscar Tango Charlie. .whiskeymusings.online. Make sure it's not .com, .net, or any of those. It's .online. Or if you just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, go to constitution.whiskeymusings.online. This is a great little pocket. It's pocket-sized. It is awesome. Saddle leather. It's great. The internal pages are water resistant. It has a 100-year warranty. Look at that stitching. It has a 100-year warranty of both materials and craftsmanship for you. If this ever falls apart due to the fact that it wasn't put together right, they will actually either rebuild it and send you a new one, or send you a new one for anywhere for 100 years. It's a wonderful keepsake. I think that's great. Do me a favor, go check out Institute on the Constitution today. And I thank them for allowing me to be a affiliate. All right. So this is Saturday night. So the next thing on the docket is On This Day in American History. And of course, we read from the American Patriots Almanac. This is a book that you can get online. This is not something I'm pushing or get any benefit of, but it is a absolute fabulous resource to go and take a look at a daily pick of things that our country has done. If you're a history buff like myself, it is a wonderful resource. And tonight's date, of course, today's date is October 15th. So tonight we're going to be talking about someone kind of special. Let's go. All the Ladies Like Whiskers is the title of this. On October 15th, 1860, young Grace Bedell, Bedell, of Westfield, New York, wrote the Republican nominee for president, a clean-shaven man with some advice. Dear Sir, my father has just come home from the fair and brought home your picture. I am a little girl of only 11 years old, but I want you should be president of the United States very much. So I hope you won't think me very bold to write to such a great man as you are. Have you any little girls about as large as I am? If so, give them my love and tell her to write to me if you cannot answer this letter. I have got 4 brothers, and part of them will vote for you anyway. And if you will let your whiskers grow, I will try and get the rest of them to vote for you. You would look a great deal better, for your face is so thin. All the ladies like whiskers, and they would tease their husbands to vote for you, and then you will be president. I must not write any more. Answer this letter right off. Goodbye, Grace Bedell. And then, on October 19th, the nominee for president wrote back, My dear little miss, your very agreeable letter of the 15th is received. I regret the necessity of saying I have no daughters. I have 3 sons, one 17, one 9, and one 7 years of age. They, with their mother, constitute my whole family. As to the whiskers, I have never worn any. Do you not think people would call it a piece of silly affection if I were to begin it now? Your very sincere well-wisher, A. Lincoln. And despite his answer, Lincoln began growing a beard. The next year, he was on his way to the White House. So he stopped in Westfield, and gave Grace a kiss and thanked her for her advice. And that is how Abe Lincoln apparently got his famous whiskers. Now, I've seen photos of Abe. I've seen him without and with, and I have to admit that whiskers, whiskers tend to, make a man look distinguished and honorable. All right, so that is tonight's On This Day in American History. So I have a big favor for you. I know you guys, all of you guys are out there, you guys are hanging out and chatting, and I love that, but I have a favor to ask of you. For those of you that don't follow me on social media, I am looking forward for this podcast. I am looking forward to try and figure out a direction that I want to take this and some things that I'd like to add. So toward that end, I am soliciting some help through a survey. Now, this is through SurveyMonkey. Okay. So this is through SurveyMonkey. I'm going to go ahead and throw the link in the chat windows here. But this is through SurveyMonkey. I can only, because it's a free account, I can only get 40 responses. I've gotten 3 so far. I'd like as many as possible. So if you could do me a favor and go and take a look at this and fill it out. It's like 5 questions long. It's really not that hard. Should take you less than 2 minutes to do. I'd really like to get your opinion on some things in terms of where you would like the show to head. Why are you not? There we go. So if you've already taken it, if you've already taken the survey, then obviously, you can't do it again. Because I set it to where you could only do 1 response, but do me a favor, go and fill that out. I'd like to get all 40 responses. That would be awesome. It'll give me at least a little inkling as to where I might be going in the near future with this broadcast. And because of the fact that you guys are, and unfortunately, buddy, I can't make it a hyperlink inside of Rumble. So that, unfortunately, you're just going to have to copy and paste it. I wish I could. If you jump over to YouTube or Facebook real quick, it will show up there as a hyperlink, and you can click on it there. But unfortunately, I can't do that on Rumble. Rumble doesn't recognize it that way. So anyway, all right. Let me see. Where am I? I'm a bit lost. I'm a little bit discombobulated. Like I said, my day hasn't been all that great. I've been spending the day troubleshooting all kinds of different things. So my mind is a little off, but let me see. Where am I at here? Oh, okay. So there's this guy. What are you doing? This is wrong. Okay. So let me get into it. So do me a favor. Like I said, go and get the link. And take care of it. Maybe I'll send it, buddy. If you're really that interested, I will kick it. I'll send it to you via email. I'll send it to you via email if that's going to be a real big challenge for you. Okay. So I've got some articles here. First of all, I honestly don't know why. Honestly, don't know why these people, don't lock Joe Biden up, especially when you start to see him going out in public. For those of you that may remember, on Wednesday, I mentioned that Joe is heading on to California. He went to California this week. In fact, today he was supposed to finish up a trip to Portland, Oregon, where he was going to be there for 2 events, one yesterday, one today. But this guy cannot keep his freaking hands off of young girls, and he can't keep himself from hanging on young girls in public and that kind of stuff, and saying creepy stuff to them. I don't know what the hell's wrong with this guy. I mean, I think he wants to be like good old Grandpa Joe, but he's turning into like creepy Joe. Creepy Joe. So yeah, it's just really interesting. Let me go ahead and bring this up. Yeah, I didn't have everything set up here. It's this guy. So this is in the Post Millenial. And again, all of my articles are in the show notes or in the description of the videos, that show up in, pretty much everywhere, I think, for the most part. So you can go and grab them there, but this was yesterday, based on the date, and the Post Millenial writes that the breaking news: Joe Biden creeps on young girl during a California photo op. So this is while he was in California. Apparently, a reporter from TPUSA's Frontlines was on hand at the meet and greet at the California college and said it was during this time that Biden encountered the girl during a photo op. And you can see the photo there. That girl probably doesn't look much more than like 12, maybe 13, possibly. But anyway, see, apparently he was at the Irvine Valley College. And after the talk, well, the phrasing is he freaked out over another young girl, but he leaned in over the girl for the photo op. And then afterward, he put his hand on the girl's shoulder and then gave her dating advice. And he is quoted as saying, "No serious guys till you're 30. Now, this isn't the only time this creepazoid has gone and done this. Okay. He actually was at another event where he was in, and this is the Post Millenial kind of mentioned this as well, but either he was at the school itself or this is back in March. So back in March, Biden took it upon himself to give the same dating advice to young girls, saying, "The only thing I want you girls to remember, no serious guys till you're 30 years old." Okay. So, okay, let's be honest. I mean, I've gone and given advice to girls of dating age, meaning 16, 17, 18, and been like, "Look, you guys just need to, calm it down. Don't worry about the dating." I mean, I've done that before. All right. And here comes the family, as you can tell by Angus taking off and jumping on the bandwagon there and barking. But here's the thing. I mean, I haven't done it to girls that are younger. And also, I only say it when I actually have some type of a relationship with the girl. So I don't just go up to random girls on the street and do this. This is a bit of creepiness. Now, if you recall, he has made comments about, hey, "Oh, girl in pigtails. Wow, you look really good. You look like you could be 16, 17. And the girl was like maybe 12 or 13. He interrupted a speech in order to do that. And so it's like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? I really can't figure out why these people even let the man go into situations like this. It's scary. And we've all seen the photos. We've all seen the photos of him like caressing their heads and, trying to get kisses from them and that kind of stuff. I just don't understand why they allow this. And apparently when the woman, the reporter, Kaylin Diomida or whatever, but apparently the reporter said that the Secret Service, and this is what he says in his tweet here, he says, "The Secret Service appears to try and stop me from filming it." So the Secret Service is doing, they're doing their jobs. They're trying to I mean, let's face it, the Secret Service covered up a lot of JFK's infidelities within the White House and that kind of stuff. But apparently they're trying to like cover it up again. And they covered up Hunter Biden's little mishap with his weapon, which, by the way, he may face charges for. Don't know just yet. But still, this guy is creepy. Keep him away from your kids. If you have an opportunity to go and see this guy, I mean, not like anybody here on this show probably would, but, do yourself a favor. Keep your kids away from him. Keep the kids away. All right. I'm just saying, just straight up, this guy is not all there. And of course we know about the reports of having Hunter Biden with his phone number listed as Pedo Pete. So, I can't even imagine why you would even it's not like he's all that popular anyway. Now, Ronald Reagan, I would have easily been like, yeah, let's go. But Ronald Reagan wouldn't have done this shit. Sorry. I let the word slip out. Anyway. All right. So we have the whole, Trump thing, going on. But this article that came out of Just the News actually kind of gave me a little bit, which there's an image, by the way, of the actor that played Hagrid from Harry Potter who passed. Also, there's an image in there because there's supposed to be a video in this next clip. But let me just, here, I'll bring it up so that everybody can see it. This from Just the News. Apparently, the House Republicans are probing whether or not the National Archives conspired with the Democrats in the Trump records dispute. Now, we've talked about this a lot. We've talked about it before, and I've gone through it because honestly, the statute that they're attempting to go get him on, the Presidential Records Act, is honestly a administrative statute. It is not a criminal statute. It's sort of like the same thing I look at it as in terms of the proper way to display the flag, and how the proper way to display the flag basically says you can't use it for bedding. You know, you're not supposed to use it for clothing. You're not supposed to let it touch the ground. All of these things carry no criminal punishment. They carry no punishment. So technically, they're like not enforced. They are essentially an administrative code. It's basically something to say this is how things work. But the Democrats and the DOJ have decided, and the FBI have decided that they wanted to go after Donald Trump. The House GOP is now probing as to whether or not the National Archives conspired with the Democrats in the record dispute. Oh, that's good. I like that. All right. So, of course, Jim Jordan's involved. I kind of like that guy, even though I've heard a few things about some of the things that he's done in the past, but I like some of what Jim Jordan is doing here. But apparently Jim Jordan and Representative James Comer say that they have suspicions that there was collusion between NARA and the congressional Democrats. It would not surprise me at all. It would not surprise me at all for this to be the case. But anyway, so I guess they demanded Friday that the National Archives and Records Administration disclose whether the history-preserving agency collaborated with the Democrats to encourage an FBI investigation into Donald Trump's presidential records. Now, the funny thing about this is there are a slew of records that Obama has still, and ironically is storing them in a security or a storage facility that may or may not pass muster in terms of security. And because it's in a storage facility and not on site, they don't have like an active guard or something like that. Unlike Mar-a-Lago, which actually has Secret Service protection detail because that's where Trump lives for a part of his time. So, realistically, I don't know where this is going, but it's just another thing that you can add to the list that the Republicans are probably going to push when they win the House back and if they win the Senate back in just less than a month away. In fact, I can't even remember the count, but I know we're in the low 20s. So that's coming. Another thing that has happened with Trump and his wonderful legal disputes with the federal government is that apparently the January 6th committee met this week and they decided to subpoena Donald Trump. Now, the funny thing about it is Donald Trump, in his usual flamboyant way, published a letter. Now, I haven't actually read the letter. I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of a little bit behind. But he basically said in this letter that although this is a sham, that it's a last ditch effort, so on and so forth, it's trying to get me, whatever. He basically said, I would be more than willing to testify at the January 6th committee. But what's funny about this is that the the committee kind of wants him to testify before the midterms because, of course, they're trying to get Trump and trying to prevent him from being able to run in 2024. They know that they are on borrowed time. And why are they on borrowed time? Well, I'll get to that in just a few minutes. But the fact of the matter is that they know that they are on borrowed time to get this done. And so the chances of him actually testifying before the midterm elections are pretty slim. He's apparently, obviously he's not opposed to testifying. And typically in his typical fashion, he will probably swoop in and turn it into an event focused on him and for him and everything else. He is a master at the podium. He is a master at, showmanship. That's definitely not, not something that these people are ready for, honestly. And so here's part of the letter that was sent. And you just got to listen to this. So he sent the lengthy letter back to the chairman, Benny Thompson. But here's the official response, a little excerpt that was here in this town hall article, again, in the show notes. And he basically says, quote, "Despite very poor television ratings, the Unselect Committee has perpetrated a show trial the likes of which this country has never seen before. There is no due process, no cross-examination, no real Republican members, and no legitimacy since you do not talk about election fraud or not calling up the troops." Now, sidebar, every single thing that he just said in those two sentences are exactly correct. There is nothing wrong with what he just said. He said it. It is all correct 100%. Now, I continue. "It is a witch hunt of the highest level, a continuation of what has been going on for years. You have not gone after the people that created the fraud, but rather great American patriots who questioned it, as is their constitutional right. These people have had their lives ruined as your committee sits back and basks in the glow. The people of this country will not stand for unequal justice under the law or liberty and justice for some. Election day is coming. We demand answers on the crime of the century." And that's the end of the excerpt. But I encourage you to go and grab the letter. It's actually onscribed, SCRIBD, and you can download it or view it at least from the town hall article. So if you go to the town hall article, you can actually get there. And yeah, so it's just amazing how these people keep going after this man for essentially doing, pretty much trying to make America a great place, which, and to stymie their efforts in going after our country and trying to break it down. All right. So as we start heading into the midterms, because obviously all of this is attempting to get back at Trump, get him involved and get him cut out of 2024, a new thing just popped now about the election voting machines. Now, I don't want to misrepresent this. This has nothing to do with 2020. It has nothing to do with the elections or being able to change elections or anything else. However, that being said, this does lean toward the whole narrative that the Dems have been putting out, that 2020 was the most secure election ever, that 2020 was the least fraudulent election ever. And I've got a series of articles here to talk about that. But before I do, I want to let everybody know who is here. If you are looking for gifts for Christmas, if you're looking for things like this, that has my tagline, "When I drink, I think Whiskey Musings." This is a wonderful sweatshirt that I have on. I have a whole bunch of things in my local gear store. do me a favor, go to store.whiskeymusings.online. Again, store.whiskeymusings.online. There's a link in the description on the videos, and you can go there. And if you go now, you can actually get free shipping between now and Christmas Eve with the promo code, all capital letters, Christmas. Go to store.whiskeymusings.online, browse through all of my logoed gear. I've got sweatshirts, t-shirts, gaiters. I've shown this before. You know, this is a great gaiter. When we were in COVID, a buddy of mine got this and he loved it, but you can get these gaiters, which has the logo on it. You can get, cups and mugs and pint glasses and things like that. But you can go and get, free shipping right now for the store. You can get all of the stuff shipped to you by using the code Christmas, all capital letters, Christmas, at checkout. So do me a favor, run over there, check out my line of stuff. I mean, I've got women's skiers. I've got, I know a couple people have grabbed like the yoga pants, for an example. I have the unisex joggers. They are very comfortable and very warm too. Just wonderful stuff. So go and check that out. Do me a favor and take a look at that and support the show by going there. All right. Now back to the possibility. So Dominion voting systems, apparently their troubles have not finished. They haven't finished with their problems yet. Now, y'all know that Dominion kind of sued Sydney. God, I can't think of her last name. Anyway, Trump's lawyer, and went after Rudy Giuliani and stuff like that. So, you know, they went after them. That court case, as far as I know, is still going on. I haven't heard anything new. I know that it was supposed to be moving into discovery phase. So anyway, their issues still keep kind of mounting up. And that's goes along with this article that came through in the National Post that I just picked up this afternoon out of BonginoReport.com, which, by the way, if you want a great news aggregator for stuff that you should pay attention to, go to BonginoReport.com and go there. They do a wonderful job of collecting all of these stories from around the web. That is like my primary source for a lot of these articles that I go through. Okay, so the National Post pops up and says that election integrity experts identify a privacy flaw affecting all ICP-ICE Dominion voting systems that are used across 21 states. All right. So again, I want to specify this has nothing to do with vote counting. This has nothing to do with scanning ballots. What this has to deal with is the privacy side of the ballot scanning. Okay. And so, so basically this is Alex Halderman, a professor of computer science and engineering at the University of Michigan, claims to have identified a critical privacy flaw in the election infrastructure sold by Dominion voting systems in the United States. Halderman, a nonpartisan analyst whose work has been cited by both sides, shares a website called dvsorder.org on his social media channels on Friday. So apparently DVS Order is a privacy law that affects Dominion voting systems, ImageCast Precinct and ImageCast Evolution. Those are the ICP-ICE things, ballot scanners, which are used in parts of 21 states. Under some circumstances, the flaw could allow members of the public to identify other people's ballots and learn how they voted. Now, knowing that you have all of these wonderful things that are trying to come in, like you have PayPal with its latest debacle where it said it was going to take $2,500 out of your account if you're found to be spewing disinformation or information that they don't like. If you have all of these, all of these other things like Bank of America, Cat Turd was talking about this, where Bank of America went and literally closed down the account that they were using for their podcast, because of the fact that it was cat turd. So anyway, this is just adding things. Okay. And the states that are potentially affected with this are California, Alaska, Minnesota, Arizona, New Mexico, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois. See, I got it right this time. I hope she's in the chat. Her and because I got slapped. I got slapped on Wednesday for saying Illinois. It's not Illinois. It's Illinois. Illinois, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Virginia, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa, Vermont, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania, as well as the territory of Puerto Rico. Anyway, so the researchers explain that this cannot directly modify results or change votes. However, it can track and identify those votes. Okay. So this is another little problem. Again, the most secure elections, we have the most secure elections available. I think all of these things that are coming out are important to election integrity. And yeah, I do think, this is part of a problem, part of a big problem. It's an indicator of potential issues that we have that possibly we've just been ignoring because nothing major has happened, or there hasn't been any major uproar like there was in 2020. So this is something that I think that they definitely need to figure out. And I'm going to be honest with you. I work in IT on my regular job. No system I think is ever secure. There are ways to get around stuff and get into systems. You just have to have a little bit of knowledge, background, and capability to get into them. So I honestly don't think that, this is a something that is going to really go anywhere other than the fact that it just sort of adds a little bit of gasoline to an already burning fire over the Dominion voting systems and their potential problems and being connected to the internet and all this other stuff. So it just adds just a smidge of an icing on a cake that, anyway. All right. So for those of you in Pennsylvania, and I know I've got a couple of Whiskey Warrior P1s that are up in Pennsylvania right now, you may be tracking the whole SCOTUS thing, where SCOTUS actually got there was a Republican from Pennsylvania that apparently sued over ballots being counted that had missing dates on them and maybe a few other errors. I picked up on the missing dates, like somebody had signed their name but didn't bother signing the date on the envelope. And so what ended up happening is those ballots were deemed by SCOTUS to technically be illegal. And excuse me for just a second. I got to look at. All right. So those were technically illegal. All right. According to the very recent Supreme Court decision. Well, apparently, at least according to this article here in the Federalist, the same day that SCOTUS squashes Pennsylvania's illegal ballots, the Secretary of State tells counties to go ahead and break the law. Now, what are they talking about? Well, apparently what was happening is that essentially, if the ballot came in and it was just missing the date, the elections people were apparently filling in that date. And they were making changes on the fly. Now, the changes, to be completely transparent, the changes were not being made to the physical ballot itself, apparently, but more things like the administrative side. Say, for an example, like I said, a missing date or missing something else. So, this is a problem though, because just like 2000 Mules kind of put out, 2000 Mules, if you haven't seen the movie, I highly encourage you to go and get it somewhere. It's been out long enough now that I'm sure there's outlets that are offering it up for free. You don't necessarily have to buy it. But go and check out 2000 Mules, because the whole premise of 2000 Mules is not so much that the ballots themselves were modified in any way, but that the locations and the transportation of these ballots was not in accordance with the state laws in the places that they were looking at these, in specific places like Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Arizona. Now, the thing about it is that a lot of people don't understand is that technically, according to law, if you transport these things illegally, that should invalidate the ballot. Not that the ballot itself is wrong, but that the method of transportation was not in accordance with law, and therefore opens up the idea that the ballots may have been tampered with. If the ballots have been tampered with, then that rends them to be illegal. If they are illegal, what should happen is the elections officials should have a methodology to go back to the voter of that ballot and essentially say, we need you to verify that these are your choices. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. Doesn't happen very often. And I can tell you here in the state of Washington, we vote all by mail. We have a little QR code, a stub that we can take the number of and enter it onto a state website that allows us to basically track and see that our ballot was received and that our ballot was accepted and that our ballot has been counted. Basically only gives us 3 phases of it. The challenge, of course, that I have is the fact that even though you've accepted it and received it and everything was correct by your standards, how do I know that the ballot hasn't been changed? Because they don't provide you with like an image of the ballot. But the thing about it is, again, is that that transportation of these ballots, sending them in, putting them in ballot boxes that are not secured, or being accessed by people, going and harvesting ballots in old folks' homes and things like that, or retirement centers and stuff, and taking them in for the other person when you have no legal right to do so. All of these things can contribute to the mere appearance of impropriety with these things. And so, for the Secretary of State, on the day that SCOTUS put out the order, and yes, I want to, hey, I've got to let everybody know, because just so side note here real quick, but I want to call attention to this person, Becky, Warneford, I think is how it's pronounced. You tell me whether or not I'm wrong here, Becky, but Becky is from Australia, people. I am reaching internationally. So she has been a great whiskey warrior down in Australia, and that is awesome. Thank you for joining live. But you're right, some of them were dead. I mean, we've had several things, voter rolls and things like that have all had problems. But basically, this isn't kosher. I mean, sorry for the term, but this honestly, this isn't right. This is not right for Pennsylvania and the Secretary of State to basically say on the day that that SCOTUS says that issues with illegal issues on ballots are illegal. And by the way, Redford, she did try. Apparently she's having issues with her Rumble over there, and it's better for her to see it on Facebook, which, to be honest with you, I am glad that she is watching on Facebook. That's awesome. All right. So it's not just things like transportation and stuff like that. We still have questions about the 2020 election that whether it overturned it or not. And I've said this before, whether it overturns it or not, or could have counted the other way. I mean, honestly, I think we're a little bit far beyond that now. now we just got to look at 2022 and hope that it is correct and everything else. So I seriously think that we kind of have to move past the idea of trying to correct 2020 and just look forward to 2022 and make sure that we identify the problems and not so much worry about correcting it, but identify the problems and plug those holes. Now, that being said, this article from the Epoch Times came out, and I think it's really apropos for the situation in the case that voter fraud comes in all shapes and sizes, but can sometimes swing elections. And in the article, they actually pull out a few places. Apparently, this was put together by my friends over at the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation is a great place for those of us who are constitutional conservatives. They do a lot of wonderful work over there. And one of the things that they did here is they took a look at, or they have a database, they have an extensive fraud database that's maintained by them, and it's logged 1,384 proven cases of voter fraud, resulting in approximately 1,191 criminal convictions, 48 civil penalties, and 103 defendants ending up in diversion programs. Okay. Now, the foundation says the list doesn't come close to being comprehensive. So just think about this. So they've got an extensive database, and it doesn't really say how far back it goes, but out of, however many years we've had, 1384, that's a lot of cases. And if it's not comprehensive, you have to ask yourself the question, how many more are out there? Okay. Oh, sorry. The database goes back to 1992 and lists 19 different elections that were overturned due to fraud. 16 of those have occurred. So 19 in total, according to the article, 19 in total, but 16 of them have been since the year 2000. All right. Anyway, so apparently, and this is what the case is being made. And I've said this before. I mean, honestly, I don't trust any of them. Anybody who is narcissistic enough to want to run for office and, regardless of their professed intentions, they have to have a little bit of, me in it, because obviously, I mean, that's all this thing is. Most of these things are more popularity contests than they actually are on the issues and things like that. And how much dirt, especially in American politics, how much dirt can the other side, the opposition, dig up on an individual? Okay. So, the thing about this is that this just basically shows and demonstrates that fraud exists. It exists on both sides. It's not necessarily tied to just one political party, one member or metric of society, one segment of society, or anything else. It happens all across the board, and it's been happening for a very, very, very long time. So for the Dems to actually come out and say, oh, 2020 was the most secure and we didn't have any other issues and so on and so forth. Well, just like when you guys talk about when the Dems, and by you guys, I mean the Dems, not my loyal whiskey warriors and other conservatives. But when the Dems come out and say, oh yeah, things are so great. Or in the case of gun violence, oh yeah, it's all whites versus blacks. There is statistics now that basically show that what you have done is a lie. What you have talked about is a lie. And in this particular case, we're looking at since 2000, since the debacle in Florida that had Al Gore in court against George W. Bush, not H.W., but W. Bush, we've had 16 fraud cases, and that's only what they know about. There could be other fraud cases that they haven't uncovered. Okay. So this is definitely, fraud in our system is definitely a problem. Now, why is this really important? Well, what's really important, of course, is the fact that right now we are living at a time where the country is literally up for grabs. We're in a social fight right now for control of America's future destiny. And at this particular moment in time, yes, it seems like the Democrats, the socialists, the leftists, the Marxists, the statists, I could go on, the communists, all of these different groups of people that all want to destroy America seem to be taking things on right now. But it's not looking like it. Now, I don't want you to get all excited and not do your civic duty, okay? This election, if any election out there, this election is the one that you absolutely want to make sure that you go out and you vote, that you vote legally, that you make sure that you vote Republican, because of the fact that they may not be perfect, but I guarantee you the other side is completely insane. Well, apparently the American people are starting to look at that as well. And there's a couple of articles here that I want to bring up to you. Let me show you this first one. This first one comes from the Washington Examiner, and apparently the, quote, GOP lead on a generic ballot, according to polling, has nearly doubled in just the past week. Okay. So, really, buddy? Did you hop over there to see if I'm over there? Interesting. Anyway, okay. So mainly what I wanted to say about this is that the generic ballot, keep in mind with the generic ballot, it's basically not necessarily pitting somebody head to head against somebody else like they like to try and do. This basically just does more of a generic questionnaire with regards to, which way are you leaning? If you're an independent, are you leaning toward the Democrats? Are you leaning toward the Republicans? Those kinds of things. The thing about it is that the generic ballot is not so much, again, like I said, on a specific individual, but more of just the general leanings. And it was at 4% for a little while, but this week, it popped up to 7%, 7 points, and they call them percentage points, but 7 points. So it almost doubled in just a week in terms of a lead of where the Republicans are starting to take the lead in a lot of races. And in this particular case, the generic race, as I talked to you about on Wednesday, Oregon has the possibility of getting a Republican governor for the first time in 35 years. Here in this state, we have the possibility of unseating a senator who has been in her seat for 30 years with a Republican, an up-and-coming Republican. You have the announcement of Tulsi Gabbard saying she's leaving the Democrat Party, not saying that she's going to jump over to the Republican Party, because I don't think she will, but she's gone into more of the independent. People are getting frustrated with the Democrat Party and how far left they have gone. They have literally left a lot of their constituents and a lot of their base in the dust by trying to go after this Marxist, communist, statist organizations, their theories, their ways of tearing down America, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it's not just the generic leads that are the problem. Fox News reported this as well, that apparently a former Clinton pollster says that the Republicans are inching closer to a wave election in November. And so we're starting to get to the point where things are starting to tighten up. At this point, and as you can see by the image here, the forecast GOP advantage in the House, this is in the House only, they are forecasting that the Republicans will have 231 seats versus 204 for the Democrats. The majority apparently is 218 seats. So what we're seeing is a complete push, but don't, please, under no circumstances think that you do not need to get out and vote. Get out and vote. And again, like I said, vote Republican, because they may not be perfect. However, the other side is completely insane. Like I've been telling people all along, it's like, look, when in doubt, vote Republican. Never, ever, 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 ever vote for a Democrat. Democrats, they are not for this country. Okay. That's my view. I'm going to stick to it. And, that's whatever you want to take out of that is whatever you want to take out of it. I don't care. All right. So, things are looking up for the Republicans. Cautiously optimistic here that we might be looking at some things that are coming in the news in the new season. We already know that Liz Cheney is out. So honestly, and we also know Adam Kinzinger is out. Both of those people were Republicans on the January 6th committee. Glad they're out. I'm glad they're gone. They were rhinos anyway. I wish we could get rid of some of the other rhinos like Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell. Their time will come. Their time will come, I'm sure. I think the American people are pretty pissed off. And another thing that the American people might get pissed off at is the fact that we have folks in government who seem to be, quote, above the law. They are doing things like Nancy Pelosi and her husband do in terms of insider trading. These people should not be allowed to do anything where their knowledge of what's happening in government, especially when it deals with companies and organizations, they should not be able to use that knowledge to enhance themselves in any way, shape, or form. So this is the last article that I have for tonight before I get into questions for whiskey. But this is the last article, and this also comes from the Epoch Times. Again, it's in the show notes. And this one here is apparently it's not just Nancy Pelosi, but there was an audit or something, and apparently thousands of federal officials are found to be stock trading in companies that are overseen by the agencies they work for. Gee, corruption in government. This should not come as a surprise to anyone anymore. It really shouldn't. Really shouldn't here. But apparently according to the article, over 2,600 officials at federal agencies invested in stocks of companies at the same time the firms were lobbying their departments for favorable policies. And this was uncovered by an investigation by the Wall Street Journal, apparently. So the Journal took over. Apparently, the Journal looked at over 31,000 financial disclosure forms, over 12,000 of over 12,000 political staff members, presidential appointees, and career employees, analyzing the data of more than 315,000 trades in stocks, funds, and bonds made by the officials, their spouses, or their children between 2016 and 2021. Close to 40% of officials in the Treasury Department had invested in stocks of firms that lobbied the agency. Among the EPA, IRS, SEC, Fed, and Defense departments, more than 25% of the officials were found to have made investments under similar circumstances, the Wall Street Journal's analysis shows. And there's a link there to go to the actual analysis. I haven't pulled it, but I mean, oh my gosh, listen to this paragraph. Over 1,800 federal officials owned or traded in big tech firms like Meta, Apple, Amazon, and the Alphabet, YouTube, Google, at a time when the government was intensifying its scrutiny of such companies. Around 70 federal officials used risky trade techniques like options and short selling, with some individual trades going up to $25 million in value. Okay, so for those of you that may not understand the phrase insider trading, that basically means that you have the inside track on information that the rest of the public does not know. And because of that information that you have, you are able to go and make trades that benefit you because of the information that you have versus the rest of the public. And so this is highly illegal. The SEC has busted people, fined people, all kinds of stuff for doing just this type of activity. And this is scary to think that this is scary to think that we have people in our government who lack the ethics and the integrity to keep the information that they have private. I mean, let's take a look, or let's take an example for, let's say somebody who is part of, say, the FBI or the CIA knows that a nuclear attack is imminent or a biological attack is imminent, and they call home to their kids and send their kids without alerting the rest of the public, but they call home and they say to their family, hey, get out, get out. That's frowned upon in a lot of cases because operational security has to be kept to a minimum. Now, is it ethically right to do that, to call your family and have them get out? Well, that is entirely up to you and your conscience and your ethics. But I can tell you that it is definitely frowned upon because of the fact that, again, you're using information that only you or very select few know in order to gain a leg up on others. And so this is highly irregular, definitely unethical, possibly illegal, and they should all be investigated in my view. So anyway, all right. It is now time for, as soon as I can figure out where the hell I am here, it is now time for questions for whiskey. And tonight's question, I got to tell you, I feel bad. He'll probably watch this later because I know that he doesn't watch the lives. He's got a very, very busy action on things that he does with his father. But I seriously hope that Jay Monty from the Rumble sphere will watch this program and get this question, because I actually skipped this, I believe. I can't remember answering it, so I'm going to go ahead and just answer it tonight anyway. If I've already answered it, then, well, we get a second look at it. But I seriously, I looked through my emails looking for a question for tonight, and I happened to see that I don't think I answered this question. So, all right, so here we go. Whiskey. How important is it that we now have a parallel economy? Not only a parallel economy, a parallel media. Face it, the media is no longer just telling facts. Newspapers, TV, radio, and even magazines don't relay news. They relay opinions based on events. Due to this, can you please comment on the importance of getting a view from each side? Also, how will having a parallel economy help those trying to find truths? Signed, Jay Monty. Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm a little perturbed about the whole idea of a parallel economy, but honestly, we as conservatives were not forced into this situation. This has been completely the left and their idea of cancel culture with the whole concept and mindset that they want to silence alternative viewpoints to their own. Conservatives generally believe that, hey, as long as you're not hurting anybody, you can say pretty much whatever you want. And honestly, you just need to understand that you're exempt by saying whatever you want, but you're not exempt from any of the consequences. And unfortunately, that also goes with things like cancel culture, et cetera, et cetera. However, the difference is that cancel culture is targeting a specific group of people and a specific viewpoint and a specific angle, perception, whatever. We generally, in order to keep free speech in America, you have to support speech that you don't like, okay? You have to support speech that you don't agree with, because if you don't, then sooner or later, you're going to be the one that's going to have the voice silenced. Now, how important is it for us to have a parallel economy, which was your first question? We absolutely need it. As I talked about earlier in this episode, You have Bank of America that shut down Cat Turd's podcast, Cat Turd and Jules in the litter box, their accounts. You have PayPal going after people who, honestly, I mean, when did they get to become the arbiters of what is misinformation or disinformation? It's no different than the government. When did they become the person, the monitor of the monitors? You know, if you ever watch the movie Enemy of the State, it's a very good question that one of the characters brings up. Who's going to monitor the monitors? And then who's going to monitor the monitor of the monitors? And then who's going to monitor the monitor of the monitors of the monitors? And it just goes on and on and on and on. The fact of the matter is that these companies should basically be saying, hey, as long as you're not doing anything illegal, we don't care. Now, when it comes to journalists and the media, the news media, unfortunately, the news media has taken over the idea or the challenge here of being able to speak facts. Now, you know, I hearken back to, and I can remember Walter Cronkite. And Walter Cronkite, honestly, was no conservative. I actually don't really remember clearly what his politics were, but the fact of the matter is that he just reported news. He reported facts and observations, not necessarily opinions. And he kept his opinions to himself, much like teachers of my day. They did the exact same thing. They would speak the truth. They would speak the knowledge. They would speak the facts of the evidence, but they would not necessarily go and speak their opinions unless, of course, they were asked, in which case they have every right to put it out there. But the whole situation is that we need to get away from the idea of opinions being fact. And that's something that the left seems to want to agree, or seems to want to push. The left seems to think that just because you feel something, that becomes fact. That is not fact. That is not objective truth. Okay? That is not where we should be when it comes to conversations. If I come on this show and I tell you that I'm coming on and I'm giving you my opinion, then you need to understand that with that opinion comes certain perspectives and maybe some prejudices and things like that. This is an opinion show. I don't play like I'm necessarily a fact individual. However, I do deal in facts. I give you opinions on those facts. And, you know, that's the purpose of this show. That's purpose of what I do. I give you the opinion based on the facts and the evidence that I have in front of me. The news media has gone away from that. At least most of the giant, the big ones have done this, especially places like CNN and MSNBC. They have turned into more opinion and propaganda outlets than they are on any kind of objective news sources. Now, I use places like, I've found that the Epoch Times, while it has a right-leaning focus, and it does tend to take a very negative approach toward China and China's dealings and what they're doing, I found that it actually for the most part, reports facts. And there are other places like, for an example, the Wall Street Journal in the opinion columns, at least they give out opinions that may disagree with the paper's leanings. However, once you learn how to read these things, honestly, you can pretty much get those sources wherever you want, and you can kind of weed and pick through. It's like Dan Bongino keeps talking about and laughs about a lot, the whole Republicans pounce idea. You know, there are methods that you can learn and ways that you can learn to be able to pick these things out of the news media and understand that, hey, this person is no longer speaking facts. They're actually speaking opinions. In terms of having both sides to an issue, and making up your own mind, that's just flat out regular critical thinking. Okay. And anyone who is a advocate of critical thinking is definitely going to go and try to gain both sides. The problem is when you have one side that's spewing facts, the other side that's spewing opinions, and you can't correlate the two of them to essentially take them at a apples to apples comparison. You end up having an apples and a oranges or an apples and a bananas comparison. And so being able to root out the truth and root out the facts on both sides and then make your opinions afterward is key to critical thinking. And I think it is a skill that must be developed in today's day and age. If you don't already have it, you should really work on it. And you should try and develop that. And I think that the more that you do, you're going to end up finding that you'll be able to weed out a lot of the fake stuff that's going on within all of our news media, even social media. I mean, a lot of people have like given up getting their news from the traditional paper sources or even digital versions of those paper sources and going to social media. I mean, I did an article in a past episode here not too long ago where Twitter was like the 60% of people got their news from Twitter. You have to go into it with the idea that not everything that you read is actually true and accurate. Not everything that you read is going to reflect the facts and the evidence. And like you can apply the Bongino rule, which is, doing 72 hours to see the facts come out. Don't just believe the first thing that you read about a story. You have to allow that to develop and marinate in order to get to the facts and the truth and the evidence. It's no different than with Donald Trump. Everybody, the first thing that everybody thought of is like, oh my God, he's colluding with the Russians. And then we go and find out here, we're 2 years into this, 3 years into this, 4 years into this. And we come to find out that all of it was a hoax, that it was made up information. So sometimes you just got to let things marinate before you go and give out an opinion or make a decision on things. So a parallel economy, I think, is important in today's day and age, as long as the one side keeps doing the crap that they're doing. And I would highly encourage that if you know a business owner, if you know podcasts, if you know of people like myself, like Mark Kay, like Dan Bongino, support them. Subscribe to their channels. In the case of Dan Bongino and Mark Kay, they get, they have sponsors, they have advertisers. I'm still fledgling, still growing. So the biggest thing that you can do for me is subscribe, spread the word, tell others about it. And occasionally, if you feel the need or feel like you want to support in a monetary fashion, buy some of the products that I push. That's the way that we're going to support the people that we appreciate and the people that we want to hear more of. And that's the way forward. We can't just sit in the dark anymore. You can't just allow these people to take over anymore. We have to push for a more equal representation and try to make sure that even though they are a minority of voices that are going on in the world today, we need to try and show them and show these businesses especially that even though they're squeaking the loudest, they are not in any way, shape, or form the rank and file and the most people out there. Thank you for sending me that, for that question for Whiskey. Do me a favor. If you have a question for Whiskey, which by the way, this one came up out of nowhere. I did not actually have one for tonight. So if you have a question for Whiskey for next Saturday, please do me a favor. Send it to my email box. Fans, that's Foxtrot Alpha November Sierra at whiskeymusings.online. That's fans at whiskeymusings.online, and send it questions for Whiskey. I'm more than willing to answer just about anything. I mean, you can put it in, and I might not answer certain aspects about my anatomy or something like that, but I will answer just about anything. And then also Wednesday nights I do a pet of the week. Do me a favor and send me pictures and photos of your pets. I think it's a really great way for us to get to know each other and enjoy our furry animal friends that we have. You can also send that to fans@whiskeymusings.online. You can also send me emails about just about anything too. That's entirely up to you. But anyway, so if this is your first time to the show and you haven't done it, do me a favor, run on over to Rumble, sign up for an account, subscribe over there. I'm at 280. I'm looking for 300. I need some more Whiskey Warrior P1s over there. Check out my store, store.whiskeymusings.online, and check out some of the gear there. Remember to use the code Christmas, all capital letters, to get free shipping between now and Christmas Eve as my gift to you. And we'll see you all next time on the Whiskey Musings broadcast. Good night, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.